Chers auditeurs,
Dear listeners,
bonjour.
welcome in Comme d'Archi Podcast Season 4
Saison 4, dans le monde fascinant des architectes.
and in the architectural projects.
Je suis Anne-Charlotte Deponte, passionnée d'architecture et docteur des universités en histoire de l'archi.
I am one of the spokespersons of Anne-Charlotte, who is a PhD in architecture history.
Merci
Thank you
d'être avec moi aujourd'hui.
to be with us today.
Et
And
maintenant,
now,
lundi en français, place au talent.
and Wednesday, let's talk projects. In English, of course.
Bienvenue dans Comme d'Archi.
Dear listeners, good morning. This is Esther on behalf of Anne-Charlotte. It's good to meet you again in Season 4 of Comme d'Archi, Episode 20. Let's start by presenting the Pietri Architectes office. Then we will talk about La Porte Bleue, or the Blue Door in English, located in Marseille. Jean-Baptiste Pietri comes from the Mediterranean, from Marseille to be precise. He remains very attached to his roots. He belongs to that category of architects who have kept a strong assertive gesture in the practice of the discipline. While this gesture, which is specific to the architect, is tending to be redefined today in favor of increased attention to the environment. Here in France, it is said, perhaps wrongly, that young architects no longer dare to embrace their profession. Jean-Baptiste Pietri founded his agency in 2001. He is a mature architect. He recognizes that he has an identifiable touch. In the many programs he has undertaken, both public and private, ranging from individual houses to office towers, including a luxury hotel with its feet in the water, he often uses curves and light colors, evoking the limestone of the south of France. However, he is attached to the context and local particularities, and since he works all over France, he is not afraid to use his imagination. He claims a romantic rationalism. He works the material. He integrates graphics, modernity with sobriety, which remains rare today. Paradoxically, one can identify the profile of a classical architect, perhaps in resistance. Because unlike most of his contemporaries, he works alone in his own name, whereas there has never been so much talk of collectives. He produces an identifiable architecture, whereas many try to blend into the landscape, etc. His strength, undeniably, is that he is still able to bring an imaginary builder, an air of the seaside, a touch of holiday spirit. We are now going to talk about one of his emblematic projects that is about to be delivered. La Porte Bleue in Marseille, a 4-star tourist residence and home building. La Porte Bleue, located at Quai d'Aranc in Marseille, benefits from a special location and geographical position at an emblematic crossroads in the city. As a real connection between the port, the roads, and the city, this project is one of the gateways to Marseille. This characteristic largely guided the construction, one of the aims of which was to make this building a symbol of living together, a characteristic of the Phocaean city where communities have been mixing for centuries. This project is intended to generate an imaginary world on this complex site with its many passages. Like a gateway to the Mediterranean, the project will be a welcome to the sea for the people of Marseille and foreigners arriving in the city by rail, land, or sea. The Porte Bleue, designed in 2016-2017 by Pietri Architectes and Constructa, is part of a real estate program of 4 distinct buildings, offices, housing, and shops at the heart of the overall development operation of the ZAC Euro-Méditerranée. Within a building approximately 50 meters high, 2 entities make up the program. The first is a 4-star tourist residence on the lower 11 levels, comprising 250 carefully decorated flats, but also a space dedicated to well-being with an indoor swimming pool and other facilities dedicated to this purpose. A restaurant and reception areas complete this complex. The second unit is made up of flats for sale on the 6 upper levels, offering spacious accommodation and unobstructed views. Its facades are composed of a multitude of wide concrete vaults leaning on each other. This lace-like ornament, a real design feat, had to meet strict specifications with the choice of concrete with a lower environmental impact, shaped locally in workshops located in the town of Aubagne, a stone's throw from Marseille. These vaults give the tower a particular arborescent design as a marker of the true aesthetic signature of the work. The variation of these modules and their random locations are reminiscent of the rich construction methods of today and yesterday that can be found around the Mediterranean, of which the city of Marseille is rich in the heritage of the Judeo-Christian and Greco-Roman civilizations. The large double-height planted vaults housing the suites and duplexes create events in the facade and arouse the curiosity of passers-by. The facades are prefabricated and self-supporting. They are made up of various 90 cm thick Y-shaped modules linked together by on-site keying and connected to the building structure by simple mechanical assemblies. These prefabricated concrete units contribute to the watertightness of the external envelope in conjunction with the aluminum joinery. These rounded forms frame the landscape in a soft and singular way through a curve from each interior space. Each dwelling then benefits from the design of the building envelope, whose arches also provide protection from the sun and wind for the inhabitants. The project seeks to fit in with the current dynamics of this new district, and the choice was made to locate a shop on the ground floor to the south facing the docks of Marseille. Whether it is a shop, cafe or mini-market, it will be located between this square and the forecourt, the space formed by the four buildings. An independent restaurant projecting from the main volume will in turn add dynamism to this interiority with its 3 glass facades and its green roof. Finally, La Porte Bleue is established within the challenges of sustainable development. Like its neighbor, the La Marseillaise Tower, and other buildings in the Euro-Méditerranée district, it will be connected to the Tassalia installation, which will heat and cool the building using marine geothermal energy, the latest technology in clean energy. Dear listeners, thank you for tuning in. Let's meet again next week for a new Comme d'Archi in English. And until then, take care of yourselves. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening. Thanks to Julien Rebourg, sound engineer, who is collaborating with us today. Don't forget to tune in to our previews on Instagram at Comme d'Archi Podcast. If you enjoy this podcast, don't hesitate to promote it by giving it 5 stars and a little comment on Apple Podcast or on your favorite podcast platform. And above all, subscribe to listen to all of our episodes for free. See you soon, and until then, take care of yourself.